For weeks now, the SBA has been hinting at a big change coming in the EIDL program. So what is that big change? Let's discuss this as well as the data that just came out today showing where exactly we stand with the EIDL grant and loan programs as far as actual approvals, concrete businesses who have received funding. So here's what's happening with this big change. The SBA is struggling. No one can argue that. Everyone's aware of this. They have through the end of the year to fund around $27 billion more in EIDL grants. Way more funding remaining than has actually been approved so far. And they're on track to miss that end of the year deadline by a large margin. At current prevailing rates for approvals, we're looking at about a year to 60 weeks to approve all remaining businesses. So something will need to change in order to hit that deadline. And this, of course, has brought a ton of heat to the SBA. All from individuals, from businesses who are struggling, from Congress who is looking at these reports and saying, what is going on here? Why is this taking so long? Why were you able to fund millions of these grants last year, but only a few $100,000 this year? And because this program just keeps dragging on, it just means more and more eyes on the program and on the SBA scrutinizing what exactly they're doing. So why are there these delays? I think there's three major reasons. The first one is tech problems. Their tech is not perfect. Their portal is not perfect. There's rampant issues. There's countless videos on YouTube explaining glitches and problems with these portals that sometimes are as bad as a glitch that can auto-deny you or make you have to call into support and correct issues because the portal just switches data. There's some major issues with this portal that is supposed to be processing hundreds of billions of dollars. A piece of tech that should be perfect with the amount of money that is flowing through it. Next, we have personnel issues. The SBA is not exactly built for something like this program, but they were given this program. So it's kind of their job to build this out. And because of this rapid expansion, they have major personnel issues. And if you've ever called them, you've run into this, where some operators are great, but most are not that great. Most of them are contractors who just simply don't have a good grasp of what's going on and they can't help you a whole lot. So you wait on hold forever and chances are you get connected with someone who has little to no experience or just doesn't understand the program, and then you just have to keep calling until you connect with someone who can actually help, which is of course very frustrating. So we got major tech issues, major personnel issues. However, those two issues aren't really cited by the SBA when they talk about why this is taking so long. Usually they talk about how the IRS is taking a long time to process their data in order for the SBA to then process the rest of the grant and loan applications. This is because of the documentation required. With the EIDL programs this year, there's much more documentation required than last year. And that's a major reason why approvals are taking much longer, because they're having to verify everything. There was a ton of fraud last year. There's still a lot of fraud this year, but there was even more fraud last year with this program. And because of that, they received a ton of criticism, so they kind of went overboard with the amount of documentation required, and this is dragging everything down, and they can then point to the IRS and say, hey, the IRS isn't sending back tax transcripts, and this is a huge reason why we're not able to process these grants as quickly as possible. And this is because of the 4506T. This is the tax transcript request, and a lot of people are just sitting and waiting for the transcript, and you don't really know how long it's taking for the IRS versus the SBA to actually process this. So we don't know what exactly is true here. But the predicament overall is fraud. The SBA is stuck between this rock and a hard place where they have to make the choice between requiring less data, less upfront verification in order to process these applications, process more applications, but then ultimately face more fraud, or have this long drawn-out process where they're verifying each and everything. Their systems aren't that great, and they get a bunch of scrutiny for not processing as many applications as we think is a reasonable rate. I believe a reasonable rate is about 100,000 a week. The record rate so far is 58,000, and the average is about 17,000. So we're pretty far off from a reasonable rate of approvals. So something obviously needs to change. So now, what's all this about, all the hinting at changes? What exactly is going on here? So myself and other news outlets have been reaching out to the SBA over the last several months to get our questions answered, to get additional data, to help give context to what exactly is going on in these programs, because the reports only show so much. They don't show things like EIDL loan increase approvals. They don't give nuanced answers. There's facts, there's questionnaires, but it only gives you so much information, so it's been very valuable to be able to talk to people at the SBA who are actually dealing with these things to get more nuanced answers. But then a few weeks back, questions started not getting answered and ignored or delayed, where usually it was very fast to receive responses here. So now all media requests seem to be responded to with this boilerplate message stating that the SBA is not satisfied with current speeds and process changes are being looked at, but it's mostly just kind of like a legal statement, and it doesn't say a whole lot in and of itself. However, while not answering specific questions, the SBA has been hinting to everyone that something big is going to happen. Quote, very, very soon. So of course this is exciting, but cautiously exciting, because it's like, how big could this be? How fundamental of a change could this be? I'm cautiously optimistic about this. And it was told, at least anecdotally, that this big change would be released today. So this morning I've been refreshing, seeing if there's any new articles, any press releases, and nothing. So I reached out to the SBA, and this is the response that I received. Hi Max, good to hear from you. Yes, there's a release coming out, but it will not drop until next week. So next week, big change next week, I suppose. So we still don't have any idea on the specifics here, but for this much hinting, I would think there'd have to be some fundamental change to how they're doing their operations. Now, I've seen assumptions here all over the place, ranging from simply just hiring more people, which I don't think that this would be hinted at. That just seems like something that they would just do. I've seen assumptions that they're going to do away with the 4506T, which maybe, but then we have that fraud issue, so I'm not really sure. I don't want to say something's going to happen until I'm actually sure. And I've even seen it as far as people assuming that the big change coming up is going to be the program open to all businesses. However, I'm not sure that that's possible without action in Congress. But again, I don't know for certain what exactly is going to happen. So what can we do in the meantime? And really just wait. Just wait and see. And I will update you exactly when this happens. I will release a video as soon as possible after this information breaks at some point next week. I'm going to keep an eye on it every single day. So until then, we can look at the most recent data that came out so we can see where exactly these programs are sitting right now. I put together some new graphs and spreadsheets so we can understand all the latest information. So popping over to the computer, we can see the most recent report just came out as of the 22nd of July. And here's the report. Total $10,000 advances funded, $299,000. Total supplemental advances, $225,000. Now, what exactly does that mean? We extrapolated the data a little bit further here. And this is all of the reports that we've received so far this year. We can see the $299,000. That's up from $284,000 last week, July 15th. That's 14,811 new approvals, which is frankly on the lower end. One of the lower months, but just above average. So I actually did some calculations here. The average approvals per week is 17,462. In order to fund all remaining advances at this prevailing rate, it would take just shy of a year. However, that's figuring 1 million approvals, which I think there's actually going to be more than 1 million eligible businesses. So this could be dramatically more. There's more funding than that left over is what I'm trying to say. The $5,000 supplemental targeted advance, we're up to 225,000 approvals here. Number of weeks to remain all funding advances, 46. And with this, there is only funding for 1 million businesses, so this one's actually more accurate, 46 weeks. And that's 16,000 approvals in the last week. The average approvals here is 20,000. So for both of these, we're below the averages. Of course, not a trend that we want to be in. Here's a graph on the total $10,000 advance approvals. We can see this week just a small bump up from the week before. I know it helps to actually be able to visualize this. And then the weekly approvals, we can see we bumped up again, a little bit more than the week before, but we're on one of the lower weeks, really lower than just about anything except for the first couple weeks of reporting. I would love to see reporting back up around here. And then with the $5,000 supplemental, we can see that this is climbing still pretty steadily here. And the weekly approvals, again, we're kind of in this kind of bottom pit. However, I'm not as concerned about the $5,000 approvals because they basically happen right after the $10,000 approvals. Once those $10,000 approvals are there, the $5,000 just comes right in because they already have all the information. Everything's already verified. They just need to, certify a little bit more on the reduction of revenue and fewer employees. So it's very simple to do that after the 10K is already approved and funded. So that's going to do it for today's update. Again, I will update you as soon as this huge breaking news comes out. I don't know I'm so curious what this is for the SBA to constantly be like, something big's coming. So we'll see. I'd like to thank you for tuning in, and I hope you have a profitable day.